I'm Catholic for more reasons than I can describe in a short video, so I'll summarize it with this. I'm Catholic because I believe it's true. Now, I realize that making exclusive claims of truth like that is kind of politically incorrect, but considering that correct political thinking was most enthusiastically endorsed by history's most enthusiastic mass murderer, I'm kind of okay with being on the other side of that field. But let's be honest with ourselves. If you're someone who takes a position or assumes an identity that is based on ideas, then the only real justification for that is that those ideas are true. For example, if you describe yourself as a Muslim, then that should be because you think that Islam is true where it differs from other belief systems. Some people like to nurture this idea that says that differing ideas can be simultaneously true, so that there's no need for us to say that one is true where the others are not. But this position is really hard to support. When ideologies or religions or belief systems differ, they do so because they're making exclusive claims that the others deny. For example, popular belief in Islam says that Jesus never died, whereas Christianity affirms that he was crucified and died under the Romans. Now, those two beliefs can't both simultaneously be true unless they're self-contradictory. So by affirming one belief system or religious identity, you're saying that the others are wrong where they differ from the one that you're affirming, and we shouldn't be afraid to do that if we're being honest with ourselves. I'm not offended by the fact that people believe things that are different from me, and neither should you be. Moral outrage should be saved for things that are actually morally outrageous. Diversity in thought shouldn't be one of those things. So why do I believe it's true? Well, there are several qualities of truth that I would use to judge a claim of truth against, but for the sake of brevity, I'll just describe one. Truth is uncompromising and unchanging. Truth does not change, and don't misunderstand that for facts. Some facts are circumstantial variables that can change. For example, I have reddish, brownish hair that should probably be cut. In 30 years from now, that won't be a fact anymore. But truth itself, not bound by the changing winds of circumstance, is transcendent and unaffected by circumstance. For example, it's wrong to murder people. That's true today, and that will be true thousands of years from now. Now, the Catholic Church is the only messenger who speaks as though the message she carries is actually true, because she doesn't tamper with it or compromise it, even when that means enduring great suffering. The apostles of Jesus, for example, were all killed except for one for not compromising their message. And generations of Christians after that continued to do so under Rome's genocidal efforts to eradicate Christianity. The second reason I'm Catholic is because it's countercultural, in the sense that when the culture wants to float along with the chaotic streams of fashion, it's Catholicism that stands firm against that current. See, progress is about getting closer to some intended goal. If you think of like a boat trying to cross the ocean, if you're really trying to get somewhere, sometimes that means resisting the currents of the sea. Now, history tells us that various cultures have been swept up by fashionable currents. When the cultures tried to give in to those currents because they were new or fashionable, it was the church that resisted them and stayed on course. The historical Jesus handpicked 12 apostles and then told them to go out and tell the entire world what they had seen and heard. These were 12 uneducated, resource-poor individuals of low standing. But in spite of that, within their lifetime, their message had consumed the entire known world. Now, this wasn't through war or armed takeover. It wasn't through political power or technology. It wasn't through any means that we can rationalize. When faced with the need to explain how Christianity spread so fast and effectively, in spite of Roman genocidal efforts and religious hostility from its place of origin, you can look at it and say, I don't know. Or you can consider the fact that maybe God had something to do with it. I think it was Carl Sagan that popularized the phrase that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And while I don't really agree with that sentiment, I do think that some pretty extraordinary things can be described as a result of Catholicism. For all we know, hundreds of thousands of years of human history passed before an astonishing renaissance of human thought and technology took place. Industrialization, prolific food production, and advanced medicine have dramatically increased the quality of life for the entire world in ways that were unheard of prior to this renaissance. And this can all be traced to something that we all take for granted, the scientific method. The scientific method is a relatively new framework for observing and understanding the world around us, and its origins are found in Europe under the aegis of the Catholic Church. Where every other civilization hit a ceiling in technological advancement, The church overcame it by investing extraordinary resources in higher education, by establishing the first universities in the Middle Ages. This led directly to the development of the scientific method, which, in spite of defamatory popular belief, the church actually embraced and nurtured. She established astronomical observatories, intellectual orders like the Jesuits, and several key scientific discoveries were made by Catholic thinkers who were actually priests. Lastly, there are countless documented miracles that were performed by Catholics. For example, for someone to be declared a saint in the Catholic Church, multiple miracles have to be confirmed as a result of direct contact with that supposed saint. These miracles are then meticulously scrutinized by investigators, which include non-Catholic experts in science and medicine. When they conclude that no natural explanation for the miraculous claim can be offered, then the person moves closer to sainthood. Many of these same saints, once declared saints, had their bodies exhumed, only to discover that they had barely decomposed even though they were buried years before. Some events are so astonishing that you might be tempted to indulge conspiracy theories about why more people haven't heard of them, like the Marian apparitions in Cairo in 1968. The short version of it is that a lady clothed in white appeared standing on top of a tower of a Coptic church in Cairo. The apparition lasted for a few minutes, and then she disappeared. Several people saw it and then told everyone that they knew. Soon word spread, and the apparitions continued for years, so often that thousands of people, even at a time, saw it simultaneously. Journalists and reporters even saw it and took pictures of it. The only rational explanation that has been offered for it is that the crowds were suffering from mass delusion caused by a desire for religious fulfillment. Now, what seems more likely to you? That thousands of people in a predominantly Muslim country would suffer from simultaneous psychosis out of some desire to have Christianity affirmed? Or is it possible that something supernatural actually happened? This list could just keep going on, because when you're talking about the oldest institution in human history, it's hard to choose which anecdotes to include. So maybe we'll do a follow-up video at some point. Until then, Dominus Vobiscum. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to try and make one of these videos a few times a month, and hopefully we can get it up to about once a week. And they're going to be about topics that are interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you too. And so if they are, please subscribe and come find me on Twitter and elsewhere, and stay tuned.